Some suspects try to act innocent or cooperate with the police during their arrest. But what happens when they do the exact opposite and make a mess of themselves? Here are 3 suspects who peed and pooped during their arrest. We start with Dan. Dan has been on the run despite having felony warrants. His luck ran out when his vehicle caught the eye of an officer who found it suspicious. He checked the license plate and discovered that it belonged to a male with felony warrants. The officer approached the driver as soon as the vehicle parked. Although Dan obeyed the officer's instructions, his bowels were not exactly obedient, and he let the officer know. If Dan thought that by pooping on himself, the officers would be disgusted and uncuff him, he thought wrong, because now the officer is determined to get to the end of this pooping matter. When the pooping announcement doesn't work, Dan begins pleading his innocence. He asks the officer what he has done and why he is being arrested. But first, the officer has to confirm that Dan is the owner of the car, and the one the warrant is for. To do that, he has to check his details. After Dan has been patted down and checked for weapons, the officers proceed to check his claim that he pooped his pants. It turns out that Dan wasn't trying to gross out the officers. He knew he had a warrant out for failing to pay child support, so when he saw the officers, he literally shit his pants. Despite the initial drama, Dan would now have to sit and poop as the officers take him to the station. Hopefully, the police allowed him to wash off at the station. While Dan was so scared of the officers, he had an unexpected oops moment. Our next suspect protested her arrest in the only way she knew how. Let me introduce you to Karen. Karen is apparently intoxicated and is causing a nuisance. An officer sees the situation and steps in to get things back in order. But Karen is not done. In fact, she's only getting started. The good officer asks her to leave the store as she is trespassing, but Karen has other plans. When the officer mentioned that she could be arrested, Karen claimed that the officer had already arrested her family and charged them. Clearly, it was the alcohol speaking, but the officer had to set the record straight. But Karen won't hear any of it. She was in the high heavens. She threatened to call the police on the officer, and the Dutch courage moved her to question his badge and push him. Uh-oh, wrong move, Karen. As Karen continued to resist, the officer called for backup. However, despite the threat of arrest and being in handcuffs, Karen didn't give up. She continued her verbal outbursts and resisting. She even threatened the officer. While waiting for the backup to arrive, Karen decides to lay down a bit, but she has a trick up her sleeve. Or is it down her legs? Finally, the backup arrives, but they now have a crappy situation to handle. They're trying to find a way to work around Karen, her crappy behavior, and, well, her crap. It's evident that this is uncharted territory for them, and none of them have encountered such a challenging scenario before. The unpredictability of the circumstances keeps them on their toes, yet they strive to maintain a sense of professionalism amidst the chaos. Karen is not moved. She keeps up with the unruly attitude. The officers are besides themselves with disgust, but they understand they need to maintain control while grappling with the discomfort of the unsanitary conditions. Despite the unpleasantness of the scene, they continue to communicate as they strategize on how to best manage the incident, ensuring the safety and well-being of everyone involved. The priority is clear: to restore order and safety in this complex and, well, crappy moment. Despite their level of professionalism, the officer was disgusted. But Karen thinks she's on top of the situation and starts giving orders and trying to make more mess of the situation. As it turns out, she's well known for getting intoxicated and becoming a nuisance on the streets and at the local Planet Fitness. They noted that she has been struggling with alcoholism over the years. Eventually, Karen was taken away where she could get the help she needed. She was reportedly charged with disorderly conduct while intoxicated. While Karen's situation can be chalked down to her being drunk, our next suspect has no such excuse. This is Lamar. Lamar is under arrest for suspected shoplifting. During the detainment, it was discovered that there was a felony warrant for their arrest. Subsequently, he was arrested by the officer, and they even had to force him before he would cooperate. Lamar struggles with a heroin addiction, and he knows this, but somehow thinks he can go into the mall, grab whatever stuff he wants, and sell it to support himself. But as someone struggling with heroin addiction, supporting himself means fixing another dose of heroin. Well, his plan to walk in, grab something and bolt out didn't quite work this time, and the police were called. He tried to make a run for it but was tackled to the ground. His little escape plan resulted in bloody lips. However, the officer needed to make sure that the bloody lips was not a result of assault from the officers. Lamar has been in and out of prison, and he wants to get to the good side of the officers. He even cleared any suspicion that he pooped on himself as a way to deter the officers pinning him to the ground when he was resisting arrest. After his pictures were taken, Lamar was transported to the station where, hopefully, he got the convenience he needs. Lamar's incident was a clear case of poop popping out where it was not wanted. But hey, accidents happen, right? Yeah. Our next suspect can claim accident for his actions. Meet our carefree suspect numero 4, a true fan of the anything goes philosophy. While his case isn't exactly a backdoor fare, it's as hair-raising as it gets. The mysterious journey that led him into the clutches of the law remains unclear. What's crystal clear, though, is his unwavering commitment to answer nature's call. Arrest or no arrest. He's the rebellious captain of bathroom antics, proclaiming his intentions with the boldness of a grand finale. He boldly invited the officers to partake in the, shall we say, finishing touches of this daring act. Clearly, when it comes to restroom etiquette, he's written his own rulebook, complete with a solo performance that will leave you in awe, or at least in shock. And that wraps up our intriguing dive. These peculiar individuals certainly add an odd twist to the realm of law enforcement encounters. Ever come across a similar eyebrow-raising scenario? Or perhaps have your own unusual tales to share? What motivates such behaviors when individuals find themselves on the wrong side of the law? We're eager to hear your take on these unusual incidents. If you found these narratives amusing or thought-provoking, show some love by hitting the like button and sharing this peculiar topic with your pals. For more offbeat yet captivating stories, make sure to subscribe and keep up with our latest updates. Thanks for joining us on this unconventional exploration of the unexpected events that can unfold during an arrest. Until next time, stay inquisitive and stay out of mischief.